Here we go. We should be getting live now. We should be coming live. We should be coming live. Hello, everybody. How are you?
Yes.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening. So let me make sure we're live, y'all. Let me make sure we live. I gotta make sure that we're live and view my channel, see if we're live here. Uh-huh. We are. We are. We
I was
are. We
about to
are.
say, it
Yes, we
said we're
are. All
live
right.
streaming.
Yes, we are live streaming. How are you guys doing today?
Outstanding. Hope everybody is well.
I'm good.
Awesome. Awesome.
Cold,
Awesome.
but getting
So,
warmer.
right, right. Has it been cold or has it been cold? How about that? How
Probably colder where
about
you are.
that? That is
Where
the
are you
thing
at,
that's
Chad?
going on right now.
I'm in
Well,
Frederick,
yes,
Maryland.
Where are you at?
Yeah, I'm in Frederick, Maryland. How about you? Where you at?
Oh,
the
yeah, I'm in
DMV.
Charlotte, and we actually got a 10-minute dusting of flurries today. Started and stopped.
We have about like 5 inches of ice all around this area now. It's insane. It just started melting, thank God. But then I had a whole roof full of snow almost, in my life the
Well,
other day.
we got 12 inches over the weekend.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, we got 12 inches here over the weekend. That pretty much is melted out, other than some patches. And then, like I said, we had this, it was so quick that it came and it left.
Terrible. I hate winter. Talk about
Yeah.
that for the next half
Well,
hour.
no, listen, winter, that's something we can talk about, but I know that we have a lot more to talk about than that. So as you guys see me, I'm sitting here trying to make sure everything is up and running well across the universe that I'm in here right now. So I'm trying to make sure everything is running well. So I'm looking at my multiple screens. So I apologize me not looking at you guys right away. But I want to thank you. So everybody that's in here, what I want you to do is like the channel and help and let's build this all up, and this conversation is going to be a little bit different than a lot of the conversations that I have when I'm on these channels, because this is a whole different part of who I am as a whole person. So this year, changing things up a little bit, right? Change things up a little bit. I'm trying to get the settings on this video on Facebook. I'm not sure why it's coming up um it's coming up that it's saying it's only going to be viewed by my friends, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make sure that it can be viewed by everybody. So, give me let me see right here, viewers.
Right.
So, yeah, you see it. Do you guys see it on Facebook? It's saying it's only friends, but you can go and get it on YouTube, because that's where I want you guys to go, because we'll be manning the chat over in YouTube. So if you're watching this wherever you are, if you're on Facebook, come on over to YouTube channel. Because that's what that's where we're going to do the majority of everything that we're talking about right now. So I welcome everybody that's in here today. And before we get all started, I would like to make sure that I have here we go. Make sure that I have this uh have everybody understanding where we are. So while you guys are doing that, I'll try to come back to this. I don't want to waste any time. So let's say what the day is and what this is. And this is a crazy time that we have right now. I think we all can agree with that. And that's what this conversation is about. So this conversation, you look at the title, and it says Publius, right? It says conversation with Publius. And so good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Conversation with Publius. Okay. And this space is for citizens who want to think carefully and honestly about what's happening in our country, including current events and the larger systems that sit within it, right? The name Publius, depending on how you want to say it, comes from the Federalist Papers, where difficult ideas were about the Constitution were in the future of the United States and the Republic were debated openly and thoroughly through, using that name through the Federalist Papers. Um, and with that belief that they had the belief that the informed public is important, right? So tonight our conversation is going to touch on what's happening now. Okay. But it's not about the sound bites. It's not about party lines. It's not about trying to win an argument. We're just trying to talk about context, consequences, and understanding why these systems exist and who they were meant to serve. Because I think that was one of the issues that we're having right now, that everybody is not being served. And so if you want, so don't need a title to be in here. You don't need to be entitled to be in here, and you don't need to agree with everything everybody is saying. We just want you to listen and think and engage with respect. Okay. So with that grounding, I want to welcome everybody in and open it up to for my panel and let everybody talk to each one another, and then let's just go ahead and go. So I want to let everybody. There's people on here. So my name is Rolanda Michelle. And I'm going to say it because of how they feature on the screen. So the next person I have is Chad. And we have James, we have Kiana, and we have Ann. Okay. So we have everybody on here to talk today because we really want to make sure that everybody have a voice. And this space is not about titles or what you do for a living. This is about, being a citizen, being a concerned citizen, and talking about what's going on. So I want to thank everybody for coming in. I kind of threw this all together because I just there was just so much going on. I almost had it done last week, but I think that I was emotionally exhausted after everything that was happening in these past couple of weeks. So I just want to say Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody out there, and Happy New Year to my panelists. And let's get this conversation going on. So what's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening in the world. Anybody can tell me what's happening in the world? That's where
Not a
have
whole
I
lot.
been?
Not a whole lot. A couple of things. Not a whole lot.
Yeah, and I think something like this for me is positive, but we also know that there's a lot of misdirection. Um, and that is, to further an agenda without everybody's eyes being on there. For instance, this Safe Act that they're trying to push through aspects of it, I can agree with and understand, but plus, you have the situation with Georgia and them taking, all of those ballots from 2020 because somebody's feelings are hurt because which he admitted at the prayer breakfast this morning, literally, that, about not winning. And it's just a petulant child who wants to relitigate something. They had six recounts in Georgia. His previous administration's Justice Department investigated it. Bill Barr spoke and then resigned behind it. And again, this is just a lot of misdirection, to me, and to sow seeds of doubt, especially with this midterm coming up and looking as though, especially with what happened just now in Texas, that they're gonna take a pretty good shellacking. And in that opens it up for all of them to impeachment in my view. So
Yeah,
Well,
I
you
think
just jumped
it's
right in there, right? You just
you
jumped
dove
right in
right
there.
into the
You
deep end.
you didn't
He
ease
didn't warm
anybody
up.
in this.
He didn't do his warm up reps. He went right to the bench press. Well, I was
Right,
going to say,
right, right.
yeah.
Everybody,
I
go
there's
ahead,
there's a
go
there's a,
ahead, Chad.
there's a whole lot of things that are going on right now, and misdirection is the right word because there's a Donald Trump is not a smart person, and I think we give him way too much credit for being some brilliant mastermind behind what the agenda actually is. A, he's being used as a tool for multiple entities because he's easily to manipulate because he has an ego. You can flatter him into action. And I'm pretty sure he has enough dirt in his life that if you know where the bodies are buried, you can blackmail the hell out of him to make him comply. But then he also has flashes he also has flashes of American cowboy in him, to where he'll just go off the hand. He'll go off script, and he'll do some crazy shit, and then people will somehow believe, that he's really the guy in charge when he's not. The people that are really in charge are the billionaire class of America. We're looking right to left. We should be looking up and down. The billionaire class of America, the donor class, the Adelsons, the APACs, the food industries, all those multi-billion dollar donors to these campaigns are in charge. You've got Israel is in charge. And, if you're a member of the Knesset, which is the Israeli legislative branch, you have more power over America than you do as a member of Congress here in the States. You got more power. Then there's also it's just insane. Who actually is running the country? Then the internal guys, the inside guys like Stephen Miller, and like Jared Kushner, you have everyone who's running the ship, but everyone still thinks it's Donald Trump. And they're missing the entire boat because you're not looking at the entire game. You're focusing on one player. And that's where people are able to be kept as polarized enemies rather than looking at who the real problem is and attacking that at the polls. And then
that's by design. That's
100%.
by design. Because and I don't mean to cut you off, but I just have to say you have to understand. Donald Trump has allowed people. He has said what people been wanting to say and what they think and have never been able to do. And let's just be real. We know who those are. And now they are empowered by that. So he is the face of that. And like to your point, it's not that he is not that intelligent because he gets in his own way. His narcissism continues to get in his own way in everything because, like you said, he goes off script. With Letitia James, he spouts so much that turns right around, and it's like, okay, you put it out here already. You know, Jeffrey Epstein's a hoax, but then we know that y'all were good buddies. I mean, so he self-sabotages himself in every way every time he opens his mouth, and you can bet on it.
He wasn't supposed to sign that bill. Jeffrey Epstein, he wasn't supposed to sign that bill. I think he went off script. They did not want him to sign that bill. I think the play was they were going to talk about it. They were going to send it to his desk. He was going to say no, but he said yes.
Well, the Republicans in the Senate is the Senate. It was because of the pressure, because it was unanimous except for one vote. And what was he going to do then?
Everybody is vulnerable. All the Republicans who signed it were vulnerable. They had to sign it. Donald Trump is impervious. He don't sign it. What's he care? Like, that man is bulletproof. Like, he could have vetoed that entire bill and he could have shrugged it off and went to sleep.
Well, he couldn't, because of the fact that is the one thing that forces them. Because remember when I think the woman in New Mexico or whatever won that special election, that gave them enough to actually be able to move that forward. I mean, and once the other one started, he didn't. This is the one time they pushed him in the corner. There's nothing he could do. And when you say that it's a hoax and all of this comes out, people aren't as stupid as he wants them to believe.
Yep. I think he still believes that CNN and Fox could control everything.
I think that he doesn't. I don't think that he thought that, he's like, oh, I'll sign this, and he doesn't really care. I think that at this point in time, he does feel like he's untouchable. I think in some ways he is untouchable. I mean, even if he, whatever happens with him, he won't be elected again. You know what I'm saying? Because if he wants to stay in power, but he knows he will never be elected again. He knows that he'll never be elected again. But
He's
he wants to
88
stay in
years old.
power.
He's got more road behind him than he's got in front of him. He's 88 years old. He's in his I don't GAF phase. He don't care.
And personally, and I don't wish this on anybody. I almost from I think they made all of this about Joe Biden and his health. I don't know if he will last through this term from that perspective.
Mhm.
And also he had we know that he has the DOJ, the FBI, and all of them in his pocket. They will do his bidding. But I will tell you, just as in and with that with them get putting the Epstein stuff out, a hit dog's gonna holler, as they say. If there is nothing and you feel that way, it never even should have been issued, especially since you ran on releasing them anyway. I'm gonna tell you and mark my words. Bill and Hillary Clinton are playing four-level chess, and
Yeah.
he is playing checkers. Because the fact that and Hillary came out and basically threw the gauntlet down and said, okay, if this is what we gonna do, bring it. Because
And we want to do it in public. And we
and they
want the
were
hearing to
that is
be
why
public.
that is why they declined at first. They said unless we can do it in public, we're not going to do it. Now, what this is going to do, Donald Trump can't run anymore. If they're willing to sit down and they're two accomplished attorneys, if they're and there's got to be additional discovery. If you want to try to come at them, you got to prove it.
Right.
Right,
Yep.
right, right.
And
Go ahead, Chad. I know you got to leave in a little bit, so go ahead. I want to get all
oh
of
no,
you,
no,
get
that's okay.
everything.
Listen, I want to give the ladies down there a chance. Kiana and Ann.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, y'all. Quiet. I know. Kiana got stuff to say, and too, but go ahead, y'all get started.
Well, I was just listening and trying to keep up with the conversation to where it was at. In terms of what everyone is saying, I think my perspective is that ultimately it doesn't even really matter what um, anybody is doing because I think it was James that said it. Like at the end of the day, and I said this to you earlier, Lonnie. Um, he Donald Trump feels like he's untouchable. As far as I'm concerned, he is. He has been. For me, even all these things, oh, bring this out, tell this, and that, and the other, all these things are being revealed. My question is always, okay, and then what? What's going to happen? You know what I mean? Like I was telling you earlier, it's not that I don't care, but it's like I am so fatigued from things all the time that it's just like unless something is going to happen, I don't have mental capacity to try, like I don't need any more details if nothing is going to happen. And so I feel like Donald Trump is, because I think you and I had talked about the the possibility of, if he were to pass or even if he were to, God help us, be impeached for the fifth time or what, like if something were to happen and he were to be removed and then Vance is able to be president, I think we know they don't really like Vance. They don't really respect Vance. You know what I mean? I do feel like Vance, from what I'd seen of him before this administration, before him becoming vice president, he seems like the type of person that wants to believe he's a rational person, that wants to believe, he's a gentleman and a scholar. I don't feel I feel like Donald Trump is bread and circuses. You know what I mean? Donald Trump is there to keep, something going, to keep it, because unfortunately, when you're dealing with social media, when you're dealing with the media, period, the way to navigate these days is to just keep some mess going. So I feel like that is Donald Trump's purpose. And he also gets to kind of, work his vendettas and everything else along with it. I feel like that's the function he serves. I do not feel like he is at the heart of the decision making. And furthermore, I should have sent this to you because what's his name? Kevin Roberts, the head of the Heritage Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently was informed and I was reading over his master's thesis in which he was studying the descendants of slaves and like a subset of slaves coming from a particular area, going to a particular area. They were 4 different tribes, I think it was. But ultimately, I was reading through to try to figure out, okay, what is he trying to determine with this? We're dealing with people who are trying to figure out how we were able to stay culturally resilient through slavery, how we were able to maintain a sense of community, how we were able to maintain a sense of identity outside of the one that they were imposing upon us through, fear and violence and everything like that. So we're not dealing with, this isn't just, reality show mess. We're dealing with people who are trying to socially engineer us and do it correctly this time. You get what I'm saying? So for me, it's just
Yeah.
like, I'm so far beyond this idea of, sensationalism. What are we doing? What are we doing? Where's the
I think
Calvary?
that's the bottom line. Yeah, I mean, that's really the bottom line is, I mean, you have all these things going on, but what are you going to do about it? I mean, the easiest thing is just to get involved with your local governments, A, and B, make sure you always vote in every freaking election and make good votes. Like, don't just vote, Democrat because you're a Democrat, because you've been a Democrat. Like, vote who really has, uh, like your best interests, at least they say you do, at heart, or who best represents what the collective interests are. Like if you're for the people, like if you're for 100% black interests, who has the best shot of getting those interests realized? I mean, like just go back to what you said earlier, Keanu, about Vance. If you look at Trump and Vance's dynamic, they represent 2 wings of MAGA, right? You got Trump, who's redneck MAGA. He was made by redneck MAGA. Then you got Vance, who's tech bro MAGA. So you can't tell me those 2 aren't clashing backstage, because they represent 2 different groups of people within the party itself. So if you lose Trump, you get tech bro MAGA.
Yeah, and
If
you
you
know,
get
to your
someone who Trump really wants, you're going to get America First MAGA still. But I mean, like Brother James said, midterms is so important, because this is what's really going to make Donald Trump a lame duck president for the last part of his life. And he's going to hate it. He hates it. He's going to hate it not having power, right? If we manage to swing Congress just to the left a little bit, not a hard left, but just a slight left, to where we just take away the majority that they currently have in the House, right? We don't want a bunch of extreme left-wing liberals in there, but we just take a little left, right? And we take the power out of the executive office that's only there because of executive orders, then we can make him a lame duck president and send him off to the sunset.
Right, right. I agree with that. So let me just say what I think, and then Anna, and we're gonna let you get on in here. Um, is that with this whole situation when it comes down to what's going on, and we can start getting into really like details of what's going on, because I want to dig into what happened and why it's happening. And Kiana, you did talk to me about that, like when you read read the paper,
and let me make
and
one point real quick before you
um
go there. I'm sorry.
you need to send it. Hold on, let me finish 1 second. Let me finish my
Okay.
statement. I so you need to send it over to me so I can really dig into that. But I do feel as though that, like you were talking about, someone said that, the Clintons are playing chess while everybody else, while Trump is playing checkers. I think at the end of the day, right? They were playing chess since the 70s, right? Since the 60s and 70s, and now it came to fruition while we were watching other people play chess while we were playing spades. We were playing a whole different game that nobody else was playing, and we weren't involved in this. So now we looking around like, well, wait, what happened? It was because we never learned how to play the games that they were going to play. Let me let Ann get in here for a second, and then I'll come back to you because we haven't heard
Okay.
from her yet. Ann, get in here, please. Join this conversation. Miss Ma'am. Unless you can't, if you can't talk, you can text me. I know that you're in the car, so I understand. So I have my phone in my hand so I can look at it. But and you can come on in and there you go.
Sorry, no, I'm in the house now. Just trying to bring my clothes upstairs. I agree with everything you guys were saying. And one thing that American people need to realize, well, they should, is that what Trump ran on, he just using an old rhetoric, an old history. He see what worked in history. And all he did was like, all right, I seen what worked back then in the Jim Crow time. And even before that, history is just repeating itself. And he know what scare tactics and fear to put in white Americans. And my thing
Right.
is,
Right.
majority of it is economical regarding him staying in power and greed and everything of that sort. And the reason why I'm stating that is because they're making banks like they were saying that he took in over billions of dollars. Just that was over like the end of the year, the end of last year, he took in billions of dollars. That was our tax
1.4.
money. They not realizing. So like the
It has been
economy of the
reported.
state.
Yeah, I forget how many billions of dollars
Yeah,
they
he took
said.
in billions. Like it's not just him, it was his kids too. His son-in-law, they took in billions. Where did they get that money from?
We
Us.
already know. I mean, but
Yeah.
he hasn't
So
even
it's
made
like,
that. Yeah.
why isn't it clicking to people that we're making them rich? Like
Yeah.
he's not giving us anything. Like he's not giving American citizens anything. And he's pinning us
A lot of
against.
his net worth, thing came from foreign money.
It is, and
So
it's the crypto. He started it when the day before him and Melania put out a Bitcoin. Then his sons, I mean, Jared got a $20 billion infusion after his last term in office. And the
from the
1.4 is
Saudis, of all people,
conservative.
from the Saudis.
Is conservative. Now, this is the thing. He is grifting in front of their face. He is suing the IRS for $10 billion. Okay. And they will pay it because he has all of them under his thumb. And to go back to
Exactly.
one point that Chad made, and I'm sorry, Ann, Trump, he is just unpredictable. And that is part of it, regardless of who is pulling certain strings. He is going to be that because he's been a showman and all of that. Now, JD Vance, he's the true puppet. To your point again, Chad, the billionaire's made his little country self, and he will be the real puppet coming in because think about all of the ones who have tried to replicate what Trump does. They can't. Marjorie Taylor Greene, look where she is now. Okay, look at these ones that wanted to come out and beat him. They always lose in these down ballot elections trying to beat Trump. So we know that that's going to flush out of the system. It's just a matter of now. There's just another puppet master that's going to be there, and I guarantee you, these midterms. I watched a hearing where one Massey came out, who was a Republican.
Yeah, you might cut off.
You're muted.
Can you hear me? Oh, he's
You're
muted. You're
muted,
muted.
James.
James, you're
I
muted.
hear I hear the
There
names
you
that
go.
you call him behind his back, but y'all don't have a backbone. It's gonna change.
Yeah, I heard that. So let me give you the number, Tasha, just for last year, because I wanted to make sure I pulled that up. It was one 1 million.
1 billion.
Look at it now. 1 billion and $1.4 billion. I
Yep.
had the right number, but the New York Times is trying to make me subscribe to it because it gave it to me, and they wrote the article on the 20th about how much money he did from last year alone. Last year alone. And I'm going to say another thing. Let's get into the deportation, but I want to talk about the deportations because this morning, I'm looking at it because I made sure I screenshotted it because I want to talk to you guys about it. This morning, that Bernie Sanders put out a post, and he said corporations have raked in over $22 billion from Trump's mass deportation machine, including Amazon that had 75 million, Palantir 81 million, Microsoft 92 million, Deloitte consulting
Now you're muted.
for out. Okay.
Okay, now
Okay.
you
I'm
back.
sorry. See, here you go. I'm gonna take this off probably. And CSI Aviation, $1.2 billion. So that was Deloitte had $100 million. So this mass deportation is big business, and let me just be clear. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I'm looking right in the camera. I have not. It's nothing wrong with getting people that came over here illegally outside of the country if that's what we were supposed to do. That's what's laws. But what's going on with this deportation is where I have a problem. Is how it's being implemented because at first we have to think about these people are not cops. Okay, these people are immigration control and another them are border control. We don't have a border to another country in Pennsylvania, in
Minnesota.
Minnesota, right? Okay, we don't have a border there. So why are these people in there en masse forced doing other jobs? Why are you sitting there, Kevin, administrative warrants as opposed to judicial warrants? If you had judicial warrants, a lot of this stuff wouldn't happen because you wouldn't be pulling the wrong people out of the car. You wouldn't be able to racially profile, right? Because you would have to go to the court and say, this is, this is the person I need to get out of the country because of X, Y, and Z. If they were doing those things, we wouldn't have it. But because it's because your way is being it's going in and out. Hold on, let me do. Hold on. Where's my trying to get it over here.
We can hear you
Uh
now.
Okay, so it's like border control. If they were doing what they supposed to do to stay on mission, we wouldn't have a problem. We wouldn't have a problem right now because mission is to get the people that aren't supposed to be here out of here, not necessarily getting just everybody out of here or anybody that you don't like because they're coming from countries like the TPS situation and I screenshotted what the judge said, and it was really really like scathing about how this judge did it. So you sit there and say you don't want illegals, right? But you were getting ready to make over 300,000 people illegal just because you don't like the country that they came.
Well,
Well, it's
what they
quotas.
did was
It's
they made
quotas.
they made a real problem into a whole disaster because the real problem is that there was close to 5 million undocumented immigrants that were allowed into the country during the Biden administration, and we don't know where a lot of them are. So, like, that's a real problem. But what they did was like Trump was winning on that messaging early on
Yep.
until they made ICE his personal slave catchers army. So ICE ruined his entire winning narrative that he had. It was like 85% of the country early in the year had a favorable opinion on his border and immigration tactics. Now it's at like 30%.
Well,
So they took a real problem and they effed it up royally.
because of quotas. They wanted to, Stephen Miller wanted 3,000
3,000
a
people a
day.
day.
Okay.
Crazy.
Now, if you plus you have to understand some of this goes back to Trump does not like, as far as he's concerned, if you are not a Republican in this country, he is not your president. Okay. And now, and if you want to get, I'm all about it. Let's get them out. However, you have people who have lived in this country, worked in picking your fruits and your vegetables, construction, everything else. Yes, look at Nicki Minaj. Look, she done made millions, okay? And sure, they haven't done their due diligence to fully go through the process, but they have added to to this nation. $980 billion were paid in taxes by immigrants in this country. That's undocumented. Okay? That is a serious bottom line to our GDP. Now, let's look at Minneapolis. They have 130,000 undocumented. Texas has 1.2 million. Florida, 1.1 million. Why aren't you going there? Why aren't you doing that? Because they're not blue. If you don't mind, I want to read one thing that I just found today, and I would love to hear y'all's comment on it. And this is quite interesting. And this goes to tell you why, again, it's all about misdirection. Okay. For each year from 1994 to 2023, this is a study done by the Cato Institute. The U.S. immigrant population generated more in taxes than they received in benefits from all levels of government over that period. Immigrants created a cumulative fiscal surplus of 14.5 trillion in real 2024 US dollars, including 3.9 trillion in savings on interest on the debt. Without immigrants, the U.S. government public debt at all levels would be at least 205% of the GDP, nearly twice its 2023 level. So this is what they want. They want to vilify them, and again, we do want them out. But they've taken ICE to people that are actually going through the process. They're going to their court appearances. They're doing everything they need to do. It's just like the 5-year-old boy, his parents. They were here legally under trying to get what they had to get done. But they just want to scoop everybody up. And then let's just be real. And this is my last point. You go from about a $25 billion budget for ICE to $170 billion. This is to have a force because you can't have the whatchamacallit go into cities, okay, unless that I
National
mean
Guard.
into
Yeah.
states. You can't have the National Guard. All right. This is a police force that he can implement and put out there, which is why they're trying to hire them in mass.
Mm,
And they cut their training by 50%.
It's
right.
47 days because that's the number of his presidency, bruh.
That's the number. It's
That's
47 days
It's
so
exactly.
random.
47 days. It takes you longer to be able to cut hair. To cut hair.
And
Let's
yeah, so you bring in like thousands of new ICE agents, and you give them half the training, and then you wonder why people get shot in the face.
Right.
right,
Mhm.
right,
And see, I'm
Well,
gonna tell you what's happening
right.
now is you're supposed to get this $50,000 signing bonus. They don't get that except for increments of 10,000 a year. If you leave, you have to pay it back at any time before that 5 years is up.
so once you're in, you can't quit.
Mm,
That's insane.
right, right. So the thing for me is when it comes down to what's going on with the government and when it's come down to ICE in itself. Okay, number one, ICE. If by any chance ICE this oh, Chad just check out.
Mhm.
But any chance if ICE decided to do what they were supposed to do, right? If they do what they're supposed to do as far as being on mission, that's what I call being on mission. If ICE was on mission, um, we wouldn't have all this stuff going on, right? We wouldn't have it. Like I said, if they were on mission, and we just lost Chad, so I was gonna say bye, Chad, wherever you are, so I know you had to leave. You stayed a couple of minutes longer than you were supposed to, but I appreciate it, and I appreciate you for jumping on here. So when it comes down to all of this stuff that we have going on, when it comes to ICE and coming them being off mission, see, my problem is that they're off mission, and if they were on mission, um if they were on mission, it wouldn't be as bad as it is right now because they'll be doing what they're saying. Who in America, what American citizen doesn't want, don't, that wouldn't like to get anybody that's an immigrant or anybody that's doing the worst of the worst things. But when you go ahead and you say lies about a particular group to instill hatred, and fear, right? A lot of times it's doing fear more than anything. It does nothing for the country because at the end, when we look at everything that's going on, we're here together. This country was made off of immigrants. Only people that haven't can say they're not, they weren't immigrants in here were the people that were excuse me, the Native Americans and the Africans that were imported. They didn't immigrate, they were imported here, right? So when we think about that, when we think about them being imported, right, then we need to always understand that, nobody was here. You don't have a right to say somebody can't come here because your family was here since 1920. I can tell you that my family was here since at least the 1800s. Okay, so my family was here before your family was here. So you don't see don't see other people kicking you guys out, right? You mean thing is like, I'm not saying that people should come here and break laws. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, I was just like this: respect is due to a dog. If somebody grabbed a dog, the way I saw how they grabbed that lady out of her car and she was still attached to her seatbelt, if somebody grabbed a dog like that, and I'm not saying she is, because she is not, she's a human being, but if somebody grabbed any type of animal that way, and it was caught on tape, they will actually get arrested for that and fined for that. So how come is okay to do that to someone and then have to let her go? You weren't even able to detain her. I forget what the situation was, but you're just mad because people are looking at you and calling you on your stuff. But
Christy
like,
Knowles shot her dog. Okay,
oh, I know that
Christy
too.
Knowles
Well, no,
shot
that's
her
just
dog.
her. But at the end, but what I'm talking about, if in normal world, but we're in bizarro land, right?
Right.
We're in bizarro land now. And what I want us to think about when we think about this whole thing, like I said, I thought this name, because we are a group of people that we're in this country together. No, I don't care where anybody comes from. There is something called, the Constitution, right? As of right now, there is something that calls a Constitution that should rule our land. And I think that I understand if anybody breaks the law, they should be accountable for it. I don't care if they're the president. I don't care if they're vice president. I don't care if they're a mayor. I don't care if they were, the dog catcher or just somebody just don't have a job at all. Everybody should, we're living in a society of people, right? I don't want to say a society of laws. We're living in a society with each other. We don't need to be out here hurting each other, and it's not cute. It is not cute to be shooting people. It's not cute to have people living in fear. It's not cute to have people not even to embrace their heritage. Let me just say this too. You know, for anybody's out there that don't know this, it's about educating us that Puerto Rico is part of the United States. Okay, so you can't go and say, oh, well, this person speaks Spanish. Well, yes, I want to say his name. So does Bad Bunny. That's his language, okay? But guess what? He's an American. He's an American. He was born an American. Let me just say that. He wasn't naturalized. He was a natural born American. But we can't say that for our first lady.
Or
You know what I'm
the
saying?
second lady.
Oh, yes, that's right.
The
So
second lady either.
So when we think about this, we can't just say only some people, or if they're coming from here, or if they listen to me. It doesn't matter. We're all here, and we all need to treat each other with respect. So there's children out here. Our laws have changed. I was talking to someone earlier and said, my little goddaughter, she'll be 12, and I'm just saying, like, that poor baby has less rights than I did when I was 12 years old.
And anybody living here, if you're not a from an Indian tribe, is technically an immigrant. And Trump is only 2 generations removed from his great grandfather and them coming here, who came here illegally and committed a crime. And then,
Well,
like
let
I
me just
said,
say this:
you
that
go marry.
I don't consider descendants of slaves immigrants. I said they were imported.
No,
Okay,
slaves
because
are
they
not
didn't come here.
immigrants. No, slaves are not immigrants. They're not. They are not classified because we were brought here
Yeah,
against our will.
I
So
said we were
we are
imported
not
here.
immigrants.
So anybody else that came over, unless you are Native
Exactly.
American, you're not you. This is not your land. So how can you sit there and say this is what it is? You know, that, you know, you want everybody to look like I hear me? Because the saying is moving.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah. So I was saying, so when you have people here and they're in it and you don't understand their food, you don't understand the language. I know you're like, what are they saying? But more than likely, listen, we are not that important that when you walk down the street, that if you see somebody talking Spanish or any other language, that they talking about you. Maybe they are. I mean, it depends on what you got on, right? But more than likely, they're talking about whatever they was talking about before you got there, and they're going to continue talking about that subject after you leave. So I don't get it. So let me ask this question to the panel. Um, our rights are being trampled on not just by people are being fearful to speak their mind, right? You know, just not just the Fourth Amendment, as far as a legal search and seizure, them, you know, pushing their ways into people's homes, but our other amendments are being trampled on as well, equal protection, as well as, you know, the First Amendment, which is, you know, what I'm doing right now, right? You know, what I'm doing right now this is my right to do that. Um, and also to go or not go to any church that I choose to go or not go to. Um, what is it? How do you guys are feeling about? And I'm going to say it because I got to talk about him because I really like him, and can you hear me? It's still saying it's loud. Okay, it's my mic is
I
saying
can
it's
hear you now. You went this in and out.
okay. Yeah, my mic is saying it's loud, and I see it and it's staying up there. Um, so what about Don Lemon? The situation with Don Lemon. You know, I want to bring that up because that's some crazy stuff. So and let me start with you first. So, you know, you just talk the least, and then go to Ann, Kiana, and then James. So, what do you guys feel about the situation with Don Lemon and his arrest, and what this actually means? Because that's really what this conversation is about. What does it mean to us as a country and to you as an individual? So, start with you, Ann, about this arrest with Don Lemon and an actual incident in the church. Because I watched the video.
I first want to say it was the perfect setup. Um, from the events that happened over the last week with the nurse being shot, and then this happened because the rest happened with him and the other three journalists a whole 2 weeks after. So it was like to take the attention off of the shooting that ICE shot that two innocent people. I think that was just the whole, we're gonna put these Black journalists as look what they're doing to trample on the rights of people trying to worship, which we know it was BS. And as far as what does it mean, as far as that, a lot, because like Don stated, they're trying to silence, people in the media. So they were protected first under the Constitution. So he's like, if you take away their rights, they can't say anything, they can't print anything. They trying to silence them. Who else they could silence? They could silence anybody. So the first
Yeah.
thing they do is you silence the media, you silence everyone on the media level, and then everybody else under that you could silence.
Yeah. I agree that it was I agree that it was a perfect. I mean, but I think also they got the right person too, as far as it is, because if it was just Georgia Ford, this, you know, we wouldn't even be talking about it right now. It would have been such a small blip that I don't think would have blown up. So Kiana, how do you feel about it? The arrest of Don Lemon, and what does that mean, and even the actual incident, because you know we can talk about the incident as well, and what they were being charged with.
I think, well, for one, it's obvious that it's a crock of bullshit. That's first and foremost in terms of why I think that Don Lemon is a stand-in for Obama right about now in terms of his image. and how he is being received by the public since he left CNN. He was in CNN, right?
Yes. Hmm.
Since he left CNN, he's been enjoying a newfound kind of freedom and being able to be vocal in ways he wasn't able to be vocal before. And I think that, seeing him being received in such a way is making Donnie's ass itch. And so he's just like seeing him go there. And of course, wait, let's rewind a little bit. It's so interesting to me that for them to have so much in terms of strategy, it's very clear that they have you thought about a lot of these things down to the details. Like I said, I was able to read that man's thesis to be able to see where his head is at in terms of doing a project like Project 2025 and things like that. So these are very detail oriented group of people, but you really thought you didn't have anything in place to kind of control the flow of information. You know what I mean? Like we're in the information age. We're in an age where everyone has a phone and everyone's able to come and say, "Hey, everybody, this is what's going on in real time." And so it's so interesting to me to see that dichotomy between such discipline and then it's like almost slapstick cartoonish the way they're just like, you didn't see that, type of thing. So it's just a weird time. It's a weird time right now, but I am enjoying Don Lemon, kind of floating through all of this and having that same swagger and having that same, poise and posture, like I said, as the Obama. So it's going to be interesting to see Donald Trump be continuously vexed by how this all plays out.
Mm.
And I'm gonna say this, and let's start by establishing that any authoritarian rule starts with silencing the media. We know history tells us that. We see how Trump treats Putin to the point that last week he put a picture of him up in the White House with him. Okay, we see how he talks about she. Um, and the consolidation of the media by all of these companies with Bezos and everything has attributed to this to a great extent because they have now bowed down and everything is consolidated. And so when you put all of that into one hand, you think about where CBS is just 3 weeks after their deal and how they wouldn't let 60 Minutes put those two different things out. Well, Canada did. I went back and watched that. But you also um, have to understand that he now is suing them. He sues everybody. Okay, and they're capitulating to him. And it takes a Don Lemon who has now gone outside of the mainstream in a situation like that to kind of keep this thing going because Joy is not there anymore. You know what I'm saying? And of course, they're attacking the blacks. And you got to look at the way he speaks to when you calling reporters piggy, the way he talked to Caitlin Collins the other day when she asked a legitimate question. And it just goes, he wants to control the narrative in every way. Um, I watched a gentleman who said that, we can boycott Target all we want to. Who we need to be boycotting is Netflix and other places that hurt the top line of these media conglomerates, because that's the only way in that respect, in some ways, our voice can be heard. I'm glad that it was Don, because it shines a brighter light. And it's going to take us sitting here having a conversation and 10,000 more of us on podcasts and everything else to kind of keep this thing going. It does feel like we're moving towards that authoritarian rule. Um, and it is, he does not want anybody to go against him, and that in and of itself says everything. I mean, and to what Chad was saying, and even to you, Kiana, I mean, anybody knows how to play him like a fiddle. All you have to do, I mean, again, I go back to this. Nicki Minaj all of a sudden talked about how hard it was being an immigrant, and now, oh, he's so handsome and I got his back. I mean, that's all you have to do. This woman in Venezuela gave up her Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? I
You're
refuse to
frozen.
anything that they ever won. Just, you know what I'm saying? It's just crazy.
So let me just say this. Let's talk about January, right? So January, there was a protest in Minnesota, and the church was the city's church in St. Paul, right? And on January 18th, and that's the one that Don Lemon was reporting on. And after that, there was an outrage, right? Did we all agree that there was an outrage because Don Lemon was reporting on it, and also that those protesters were there blocking the way? When you see every single report, when Don Lemon is standing away from the door, the the federal government said, we got to get that. I'm going to ask you a question. Did you know, because I want to try to find the name of the church. Did you know that in January, there was also another church that was protested, and that protested, and it was protested, uh, New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, I believe that's what it was. A full black church that was protested, and these people came in and they were blocking them and disturbing them, and they didn't like their stance, because they didn't like their stance um in January of this year too. Okay, and nothing happened. That church reverend wrote to the department, to all of these people to say, hey, what about our church? And they haven't heard back. So please tell me.
I believe it.
Huh?
I believe it.
It is. I mean,
It's just in, water is wet. Like,
yes.
it,
Yeah. So the crazy part about this is that when I'm talking about our rights, and I'm coming back to, we can't arbitrarily prosecute laws, right? Um, we can't arbitrarily say these people are bad and these people are bad, but these people are not bad. And they did the same thing, actually did worse, right? They just were telling them, hey, you got a minister in your church that is doing ice. They were telling them that basically that they're not a good church, because I believe it was, I can't remember what the issue is, but and they were protested by another minister that traveled to protest at their church because they didn't like the way what the exact minister was talking about. I think when we come down to these rights of ours that we all have, and we always want to sit there and look at it, I think we always need to accept this one thing, is that we can't have rights just for one group of people. Because once they take it from one group of people, they could take it from the other group. Now, maybe today, your group is the person that gets to hold on to the rights, right? But eventually, if you say something that they don't like, they're going to take it away. Think about the gun issue. Think about the gun issue. They were all pro guns. As soon as Alex Preddy had a gun and it was legal, he said, no more guns. Like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So, as we sit in this moment, and it's a lot going on, what do you think? Like, I think we kind of touched on it in the beginning. Like, what do you think we can do as individuals to do something better, to make things better? Um, what do you think we can do about this? Is there anything we can do about it?
I'm gonna be the nihilist a bit right now. I No, seriously, it's like, of course, vote all the things. You know what I mean? I'm saying for me, it is concerning, it's frustrating, it's scary, it's infuriating because, like I said, to what you just described, these are things that my understanding of the foundation, you got Hamilton and everybody's all hopped up on this idea of democracy and what it's supposed to be and everything like that. And I was talking to you, I was like, okay, where's the B613? Where's the fail safe that's supposed to be in place when things get this out of hand? Because it's out of hand. You get what I'm saying? Like, we're at a point where, yeah, we want to use the mechanisms that are supposed to be in place, but like you said, the people that are currently in power are just lying and doing whatever they want to do and usurping these things. So it's like, what is the protocol for that? And me personally, if at all possible, if you're saying like, well, what can we do? I feel like the best thing to be doing right now, and that's why I was telling you, like, I was trying to figure out how to get in contact personally with the people that are doing the moving and shaking in government, because I want to know, okay, and is there anyone documenting this painstakingly enough to be able to, if we don't already have fail safes in place for these unprecedented times, to be able to have something in place for next time somebody decides they're going to use the Donald Trump playbook or the MAGA playbook and try to do this again. Like, what is coming out of this in terms of uh mechanisms and procedures and whatnot to prevent it getting this bad again once we're able to kind of balance it out or
Well,
balance it back out.
I agree with you. And I'll just say, but make this point very quickly. This MAGA universe that we live in, and all these people who are willing to literally justify what he does and some of the actions he's taken. Trust and believe when a Democrat gets into office, I don't think that there would be one that would be like, oh yeah, we about to, but I mean, they would have a fit if Obama said and did just a minute. They got mad at that man for wearing a tan suit and using a selfie stick. Okay, he quietly got 5 million people, undocumented people, out of this country, and nobody even realizes that because there was no drama. But when they get back in office, they're gonna scream bloody murder for whoever that Democrat is. And that's why I think if they make a sweeping if they really make a sweep in the midterms and have a good majority, these folks going a lot of Republicans are gonna change their tunes, but I'm telling you, they're gonna swear that they were done wrong when the like they say, ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun.
I think, and I'm gonna let you talk, Tasha, too. I think that to Kiana, I want to say something. Oh, I know, I just said it. Um, I when you said what you just said about, where's the B613, and that's a reference to Scandal. Anybody that didn't watch Scandal, and his job was to protect the Republic, command. Okay, where is command? The command was supposed to be the Supreme Court.
Exactly. Exactly. No, you're right.
And that was what went first.
You're
And
right.
that was what went first. Command was supposed to be the Supreme Court, to interpret the laws, as it is. And just to be clear, let me just say this, and Don Lemon has the only job that anybody else can do without being an elected official, um, that is mentioned in the Constitution. You got to remember that the founders of this country, most of them had newspapers, right? That's how they got the information out. They wrote, they wrote, they wrote. So this is not fun. So Anne,
And can I ask you a
go
question?
ahead.
I'm gonna throw this out there. I mean, if you really think about it, how smart were those men in seven to write what they wrote. You know, they could have anticipated that we would have machine guns and all that kind of stuff now. But you think about the foundation of the Constitution. That's what they had, some deep thought about what this experiment could be. You think about it.
They did, and hold that question. Ask it again if I forget to answer it. I'm gonna let Ann jump in real quick. And what do you think? What can you do? What do you think about what we can do? What we're working together to get this stuff done and holding the line to keep this republic alive.
For one, not turn a deaf ear, not had the attitude because it's not affecting me directly, then I'm not worrying about it. Because ultimately it is affecting everyone as a whole. Regardless if it's not you individually, it will trickle down, it will have some effect on you.
Right.
I'm sorry, y'all. I'm multitasking. I'm in here packing too, Rolanda. I'm
It's
sorry.
all right.
No worries, no
But,
worries. I understand. Uh, so, you have anything else to say? I'm sorry, Ann.
no, I was going to say, be vigilant, not be quiet, not just fall by the wayside and say, "Oh, I'm not worrying about this because it's not affecting me and my household." So, but like I said, it is affecting you and your household. It's affecting all of us. Um, like I know some people personally who are Trump supporters, surprisingly.
Oh no, I know some too.
Yeah. And they was die hard for Trump. Oh, Trump gonna get this economy back running and like it was before the pandemic. No, you got to remember he had the economy before the pandemic, and you got to look at the steps that he took and how he handled. Remember he was in office the whole 10 months when the pandemic hit. And he made delayed choices. He made choices that was not for the American people until he seen other countries, until he seen Canada, Italy, Spain, what they were doing for their citizens. And then it's like, okay, we're going to give you guys this $1,200. I'm going to give you guys,
And still ain't seen a cent.
Child, it's a whole nother,
Oh yeah,
a whole nother story.
so let
So the same person I told you
So
about.
let's say this is that. I'm sorry.
No, go
Go ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry, Ann. No, you was breaking up. Thought go ahead, finish. I'm
No,
sorry.
the same person. So Trump been in office for over a year now. So now he's coming back. I went to the market and I only got one bag of groceries and I paid $100. Wait a minute. I thought your man was going to reduce the prices of everything, not realizing that the tariffs is going to affect the consumer. It's affecting us, but it's making him richer. But
right.
I can't say what we could do like one person, but collectively as a whole, we can do something. The first thing is like back in like the journalists like Don Lemon, like don't let them take his power, to speak out and let them know what's going on. Like he have like first president of what's going on behind the scenes, like in the administration. Like he'll get the scoop and report it to us.
Right.
Not fold. And another thing is,
right.
I don't know, to be honest, like I'm just trying to navigate all this stuff like right now with the changes that they're implementing and who they're being real strategic on who they're targeting. Not just minorities. Like right now, like they're targeting Black women, like educated Black women. You want to knock down the profession.
They've
I'm
held
sorry.
up this country.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
let me just say this. Let me go back to what you said, James, about the founding fathers of this country. The reason why they wrote that Constitution the way that they wrote this Constitution is because they knew there was going to be a moment when somebody wanted to be king in the United States. They knew it because they came from having a king. So everything they wrote is non-king, like non-government. They didn't like government, but they understood that they needed some level of government, right? And that's why you had the compromise between, during the Constitution, creating the Constitution about having, the two branches of the of the legislature, right? The Senate, and then also with the House of Representatives, so they can kind of even things out. What I say is, what I say is that they knew somebody was going to try to take power, right? But this is the moment in our lives that we need to realize why this country was founded. No, it was not founded for people to look like any of us on this call, okay? Didn't look like, it wasn't for us, but it is now, right? You know what I mean? We have to, and as we look at this, we need to understand why this country was formed for freedoms, because people are being oppressed elsewhere. So why are we creating oppression? And I understand. Let's call it what it is. This country was made on oppression, right? It really was. But it's like, why are we going back to the same? Like, you're not supposed to make the same mistake, right? You're not supposed to make the
They
same
don't want to
mistake,
learn. Power corrupts. And it's just like when the foundation of this with you was the Federalist Papers. And part of the Federalist Papers was to convince New York about this experiment of democracy. You know what I'm
right?
saying?
They wanted them to ratify the Constitution.
Exactly.
Um,
And I just sit there and I hear these constitutionalists, I hear some of these attorneys like, Johnson and all of that, who say that this about the Constitution, that about the Constitution. I'm like, you don't understand the Constitution. A lot of these people who, because of how, again, they've capitulated to Trump to say, oh, well, maybe he does need more power, or this technically could fall up under that, and it doesn't. And this is where, that's why I said, the extent to which they wrote these things, the original, and certainly they've added things, but I mean, it just says a whole lot. I mean, now he's talking about nationalizing elections. They wanted to keep that in the states. That's where that started, about the states having those rights. And then basically the federal government is just it helps to oversee, just to keep everything together. It's like, it's like, um you have Yum Brands has pizza, has Pepsi, Pizza Hut, everything under it. Yum Brands is the federal government, and then you have the states are everything under it. And then just in, with talking to you today and everything going on, and even in this conversation, it's just like people don't realize how important and just how much foresight they had in putting this and basically touching everything that we would need, or it would need, to sustain itself for as long as it has.
right, right. So what I want to say is our this, so what, it wasn't written for you and I. It wasn't written for a lot of people, but this country is here and we're in it, and it could be okay. America was never great. So when you say make America great again, it was never great. Um and let's understand this, like you were saying, and I just want to pull something up real quick while I'm thinking about it. But the thing about the Constitution, and you're right, this was based off of you know um the Federalist Papers, right? To ratify this, right? And to ratify the Constitution. And so, like I said, Publius means people. So the preamble of the United States starts with "We the people," which is what the Publius mean, right? In order to form a more perfect union. So they understand that they just have to keep striving for perfection. So we never were great. They know that we're going to have to change and grow and evolve, right? And we have, it says establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, right? You know what I mean? To provide for a common defense. And okay. So it's like for the common defense and the welfare, I mean, we're thinking about that. The welfare is not just for one people, it's for everybody that's in the country. Yes, it was for white male landowners, not poor white people either. Okay. It, it was not for if you didn't own land, you didn't, they felt as though you didn't have a stake in it. Like, you know what I mean? Like stakeholders, you didn't have a stake in the country and the well-being if you weren't a landowner. Um, but we all are here now, and we need to by coming together as a people and understanding that there is more to this than that there's more to this journey, this experiment of America than what it is today. And we can have so much more and be so much more if we just realize that regardless of what you look like, um, it is okay. I don't know if I said this before, you, Kiana, before in high school, we were talking about the melting pot, right? We're talking in political science class. And I just remember this thing, and I won't say her name because but I remember this teacher said, we're talking about the melting pot. And she said, what happens when you have a box of crayons? I'm gonna go ahead and do this. How about this? Can you hear me? Probably sound different because I went and got the other audio, the other mic, because I'm just tired of fighting with this mic. So what she said was, what happens with a box of crayons? You have a box of crayons and they have all these beautiful colors, all these little things, but it's saying a melting pot. When you put all the crayons in a melting pot, you get this ugly gray goo, right? That looks ugly. So she said that we shouldn't look at America as a melting pot, more of a tossed salad. A tossed salad meaning that everybody has their own flavors, their own textures, their own colors, and bringing it together to bring something that is so beautiful, something that tastes good and it's good for us, right? All those things work together. So if we are sitting here thinking about our country as it is, no, I get it. People shouldn't be here illegally, but people shouldn't be getting shot because they're telling you that they see you doing something wrong. People should get shot for doing what our moms told us to do, to stand up for people that are getting hurt.
But then you pardon,
That's what America was
J6
for,
people.
right?
But you pardon J6 people.
Right.
This is where it looks crazy. And let's just think about this for a second, okay? Cinco de Mayo, they be out there. They loving the Cinco de Mayo, don't they? Okay.
Well, yeah.
You go to any small town in America, even if it's got one stoplight, you know what you're gonna find there? A Chinese restaurant.
Right.
Why they spend so much time? Look at the Orange Man himself. Why do they spend so much time trying to have the same hue that we do? And it's
because
just
it's beautiful.
Everything that you sit and try to push away, you enjoy to the fullest. Cabo, what's everybody? Cabo, everybody goes to Cabo or somewhere in Mexico. Senior Frogs. Hey, listen, that's the place to be. I mean, it's just crazy to me. They love to go to the islands. First thing they do is sit on the beach to get a tan.
But they're very ignorant there because I remember when I went to, why am I talking to this mic when I got the other mic on now? When I went to the Dominican Republic, I remember, we're in the Dominican Republic and an American, I can tell, the lady was like, I don't speak English. And she said something in Spanish. Well, you need to learn how to speak English. Why? She lives in the Dominican Republic. You're in her country and you're telling her she needs to speak your language?
Well, see,
Like,
that's the
think about
problem with Americans. That's a problem because they feel so entitled that they go to countries. And again, you got to realize this. Other problem that we're about to have after World War II, they were able to establish that the dollar would be the currency to buy oil, specifically around the world. It doesn't matter. Whatever country buys or sells oil has to be in the dollar. Okay. That is starting to change. And that is what has propped us up for as long as it has, is the fact that all of that is exchanged in the dollar. You know, and they do. They are too entitled to go to a country, and they're like, why do you think the parent French call us the ugly Americans? That's why. When I was in Paris, that is the reason that they do, because they come over like, oh, well, y'all should this and do that. But we're the only country that's not multilingual, other than the immigrants that come here. The only
it.
country.
But I think what we need to understand, and I know it's getting late, and I appreciate the conversation, and I know we can go on forever, but I want to go around a little bit and let everybody have some final remarks before we try to close everything off. I want to say this is that the United States of America, it needs us, right? And so it needs us, and I'm not saying us as just these people on this call. I'm talking about us as whoever sees this video. I don't care if it's 2 people see this video, 2 million people that see this video. Like and share this video, because this is just a conversation about from people. This is not, no one on here is a political pundit, right? No one in here is running for office. We're just regular people, business owners, moms, dads, that have, stuff going on in our lives. And we see where we were when we grew up and where the country is now. And it's a very, very different country than it was when I was born. And I mean, yeah, I was born in the 1900s, right? Okay. But it's still a different country, you know?
Right.
That's what's like, hey, wow, you born in 1900s? Like, so, you know? Um, but we have to figure out what we're going to do. I'm not going to I'm not going to telegraph some of my punches right now because, but a lot of you guys on here know what I'm going to be doing next. But let me go around table and quickly, let me start with you, James, and then we'll go to Kiana and then Ian, and then bring it back to me. What are some things that you can do? You ready to do now? I mean, are you ready? Is this a time that we need to stand up and or sit down?
Well, first and foremost, I absolutely want to thank you for the invitation to be a part of this roundtable. Um, I like what you're doing. I like where you're taking this and would love to continue to participate in the conversation moving forward. I definitely want to thank the other panelists on here as well because you opened up and gave me some perspective. So I'm just glad that we were all able to be here and be able to hear one another. I mean, for me, um, it is about being engaged. Whoever does see this, there is a way to be engaged. You don't have to be a blogger, you don't have to podcast, but you know people and you have discussions. And silence is complicity. And we have too much of that going on today. And you know, any war or any change has always started with conversation, and that's where it starts. And if there's something that you can do, don't be afraid, first and foremost, because we have seen that if Minneapolis could be your city. It could be your neighbor. It could be people that children that are at school with your children or grandchildren. So you have to stand, and it starts where you are locally. And I just encourage people to have communication, do what you can do moving forward, because that's gonna be needed. It's gonna touch you in some way, and just know that that's coming.
Yeah, yeah. So, Kiana, what do you want to say as we close this out today?
I'll say think critically. Please read any and everything that you are able to like read. No, I was thinking about Mortal Kombat, the first Mortal Kombat, when she was like, know your thy enemy,
Right.
know thyself. You know, like you have to. It pains me in being a part of social media and seeing how shallow and surface level people engage with things. Like everything is about being stimulated and triggered. And I'm just like, no, you're engaging with the rage bait of things, but you need to read, like I said, get into the implications of things. Why is this white man who does not care about Black people so deeply invested in how Black people maintain relationships and maintain strength and solidarity and identity in the face of such strife, of such oppression? Like you have to, the implications, it's all there. Everything we need to know about who we're dealing with is all there. Do not underestimate the cruelty. Do not overestimate your value or your worthiness, or just because you're doing well or whatever. Anne was mentioning earlier about having conversations with, I had to have a little conversation, had to open some eyes and ears and stuff, like this ain't no reality show. This isn't your favorite reality villain against mine. This is real life. It affects real people. It's creeping closer and closer to those of us who feel so detached and distant from it. This is real life. So we need to be getting ready to understand we are a part of history being made right now. They are going to be talking about this point in time, and we need to be ready and understanding that we may have to put up or shut up. Or he said get down or lay down.
Hey, that's right. So Ann, let's hear what you have to say, as how you feeling and in this day and time.
Hold on one moment.
I understand. I know you're doing some things there. So
No,
go ahead, you go.
I'm ready to speak. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just
Okay.
want to piggyback off of what both James and Kiana was saying. First, we do have to remain vigilant of what's going on, and I think one of the ways we could do it is by strengthening our local networks. Like build strong relationships in our neighborhoods, family, our peers, our community, because it will be harder to manipulate when we have a stronger community as a whole. The
Right.
second thing is we got to vote in the mid-elections. Like those elections are just as important. Like when we're putting the judges, our city council, so they have an impact. Like they're the one that's going to, Congress and, bringing these issues that we have in our communities, in our neighborhoods, bringing it to the forefront. So we need someone that's really going to look out for us. And so the mid-elections, I know a lot of people miss those elections and figure, oh, it's not the general election, I don't have to worry about it. But those are key elections. Like they are actually more essential to us because it's within our communities that is more impactful.
Right.
And another thing is, I think mainly is just we got to take care of our mental health also.
Mm-hmm.
With all of this, I know me and you, we have a lot of conversations about this, and a lot of time I'll tell you, I say not right now, but I just don't have the mental capacity to even deal with everything, especially that's going on in the news. Like it takes a mental toll, and it takes a mental toll on at some point. Hearing about like what Trump, like my mom, every day you hear what Trump did next, like nothing is surprising. Like nothing the Trump administration does is surprising. Like, so that's the first thing. But I think the biggest thing, like we could start individually, is like just strengthening our local network, and it's what you're doing right now, like this podcast right now. Just getting information out there, just collaborating, talking, bringing things that are happening to the forefront, and then that we talk through it.
Right. So let me just say that when I think about what we should be doing, number one, everything you guys said kind of, I kind of piggyback off of all of this, but I will say this is that get involved, and Keanu was talking about that. Get involved. There's a lot of people, and to Tasha's note, that the midterm elections is more important because that's your dog catcher, that's your school, you know what I mean, your school boards, that's your city councilman. Those are your people that really touch your lives every single day. And if we have a federal government that is doing that's doing the things that they're doing, we do need to have the strong local governments to protect us and keep us strong and make sure we have resources there. I don't know if there's any other governor races. There probably some governor races around the country. Those things are very important. And looking at what these midterms are already showing up to be, showing that Texas was already to start, flipping a couple of seats. This is the opportunity. I'm not talking about a blue wave, but I'm talking about changing it. Changing the ideas of what's going on and getting leaders that are not going to be afraid to say, no, this is not right. I stand with the republic, not stand with a person. I stand with the people, not just a person. I'm here because of those of I was elected to office and I'm staying in this office because I'm here to do the work of the people, not just for my city, not just for my state, just not for my street, but for the country. And it makes us all stronger when we do that. So I do want to say, number one, I appreciate everybody being here. Chad, you left us, but Chad, thank you for being here. James, thank you for being here. Kiana, thank you for being here. And thank you for being here. And whoever is watching this late now or later, thank you for watching and thank you for being here. So as we come to the end of this whole situation, I wanted to make something clear in the purpose of the space. These conversations with Publius exist because of a healthy republic depends on the people who are willing to think, not just react. I don't want anybody to be here screaming and hollering and did you see that? No, this is not, that type of thing. So I know some people might not like it. They want to see all of that, but that's not what this is for. We won't solve everything here. I know that, but and that's not my goal. The goal is to slow the conversation down and examine it with ideas. And remember, this conversation right now was just so much we had to basically unpack, right? We have to unpack it and we have to figure out what we're going to do with it. So we have to remember that disagreement doesn't require disrespect because I don't agree with everything somebody says. Even if they're, politically almost aligned with me, that doesn't mean that I agree with everything they said. So we don't have to be disrespectful for one another. We don't have to be hurtful for one another. We don't have to laugh at someone's misery. That's what my teacher said in fourth grade. These are things that stay with me because certain things are important. Um, and and I wanted to say this is that if tonight challenged your thinking a little bit, that's a good thing. If it affirms something that you already believed, I hope it added some context to it, or at least let you think things through a little bit more deeply on a deeper level. These conversations are going to continue. I don't know how often I'm going to have these things, me being by myself, panel, because, I just kind of grab people as they can, and you see people are in their cars. Well, these are going to continue. And so we'll work we will work on understanding the Constitution and our systems and our responsibilities as citizens to one another. That is important. So that's what this place is for. This is not me, selling anything. This is not me telling anybody to do whatever. My business life is my business life, but I am a human. I am American. I was born here. My family was born here. And I do want this to be a more perfect union. So I would like to say thank you for being part of the dialogue. And I would like to tell you again, until next time. So talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much. And panelists, thank you so much. You guys have a great night. Stay safe out there.
You as well.